Welcome back. Data by the NSA shows that 31 out of the 58 actively traded counters on the NSA are currently trading below their March 12th, 2020 levels when Kenya announced the first case of a COVID-19 that saw the main market index drop to a 20-year low. This is in big contrast to the growth of investor wealth at the bourse that increased by 610 billion over the same period. Now, market analysts say that the investment trends during the pandemic have seen companies seen as struggling under the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic lose out on investment in favor of more defensive stocks on the bourse, with Safaricom and the banking quarters seen as carrying more earning potential within the period, taking majority of the investments. Safaricom has seen a 62% gain on the stock since COVID-19 first hit Kenya in March 2020, with 8 out of the 11 listed banks in the country trading below their March 12th, 2020 levels. Now, the gainers in the banking quarters have come from equity holdings at 12%, KCB 2.7% to 50 shillings and 50 cents, and Co-Bank at 47 shillings and 10 cents per share respectively, with banks that have showed strong recovery this year, with their gross profits up 61% to 96.4 billion in the 6 months to June. World Bank expects Kenya's economy to grow by 4.5% this year as our vaccinations and lockdown easing help it recover from the coronavirus-induced slump last year. Gabriel, 31 out of 58. This is a big number, isn't it, Gabriel?
Big number, and I think how I'd put it is that recovery is really going to be a thing for every company.
Yes.
Recovers specific initiatives that company plan. Investors have become very and the company, even the sectors mentioned, they've done well. So if you look at, Sky went through a rush, they did well. Nairobi Ventures has its own ongoing project. So it's that to make the few that recover, survive, and continue to do that. So unless a specific, so you see, we had dormant companies that were just, the price was everybody. So back to where we go beyond, it'll be your profitability, it will be growth, it will be your plans, it will be specific things around your sector. So there'll just not be the growth that we were seeing of every stock was actually, because so I think now it's going to be more specific, and that's why you are seeing those that you've mentioned, Safaricom, yes, the banking sector becoming, because reports quarterly, and there's a lot of analysis and news around it. It's one of the most active sectors in the economy. Safaricom, we all know, they're ever in the news. So that's why the rest, Centrum, of course, in the news, no movement. So it's just like I'm saying, because more long-term investments, etc. So that's why I'm putting it, that it's specific companies to have specific initiatives that then translate into growth in their stocks.
Pretty much. Gabriel, I'll be coming back to you because we do know the strongest quarters on our bourse. When we're talking about the banking stocks, we have the likes of EABL, we have the likes of Safaricom. But when you look at even amongst the strongest quarters on the bourse, roofers, you still have like 8 out of the 11 commercial banks still struggling to get to their March 2020 levels. Does that go to show that even the investor trends on the bourse have now changed? And roofers, if they have changed, what is that trend then?
I think the markets are quite cyclical.
Yes.
I'll do the US stock market. When you look at the US stock market, especially the S&P 500 companies, you notice that about 10 companies are highly concentrated. They take a very big weight compared to the rest of the 490 companies. It's quite similar. We have top companies, about 7, that take a very big weight compared to the other companies within the sector. So Another way to look at this is about the economic cycle and also the trading cycle. So you notice that there are some times when the top weighted companies are doing well, lead the entire stock market to a positive number. So when you realize that a lot of these, it's mainly because of the profit taking.
Yes.
So we know that when the stocks go up entirely, after some time will be taking their profits, its prices will tend to correct for a period of time. So if you look at companies such as Tesla, you look at Netflix, Apple, they've all been doing well since the beginning of the pandemic. But if you look at their performance over 2021, they have spent the half of the year on the lower side of the curve, meaning that they were lower than they started at the beginning. So it's quite common to see such a scenario. In Kenya, I would say it's a discount that you are currently experiencing.
Yes.
So it's only temporary that the prices remain lower than the beginning of the year, but eventually we are going to see the stock market starts to take advantage of the new fundamentals that are shaping up.
Yes.
And you see the prices go much higher than they opened at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
So this being the last quarter of trading, remember this Monday was the very first day of the fourth quarter of 2021. We could see some really good numbers as we approach the next year.
Interesting. Rufus, let me jump in if you may, and I'm sorry I don't mean to cut you short, but how do we make sense of that? We are talking about majority of these companies struggling to get back to their 2020 levels, but if you look at that investor wealth, it is increased by 610 billion.
Yes, mainly because of the concentration. Investors have become very sharp in terms of interpreting information in the financial markets.
Yes.
The performing companies in the Nairobi Stock Exchange, investors have been able to identify the top performing stocks. And even though a majority of the companies have been on the lower side, they have really taken advantage of the ones that have been on the positive side. So we have seen Nairobi Business Ventures performing very well. You remember the case of Bamburi,
yes,
making some good numbers. And also we have, of course, the stock, which is Safaricom, and then the banking sector. So investors have been able to identify these gold mines within the bourse and then allocate a higher amount of portfolio in those stocks.
Pretty much. Now, Gabriel, let's then make sense of what we've also seen on the bourse, especially this year. Well, if we're talking about especially the banking stocks in the country, which we know are the stronger quarters on the local bourse, I mean, up to September 21st, and if we look at that data in terms of market capitalization, we saw Safaricom correct, we saw the banking quarters in the country correct. So this optimism that we have indeed that the economy is going to grow by 4.5% this year. Are we optimistic enough that these 4.5 points are going to correct the market outlook across the 31 counters now that are not performing?
Simba, I'm sure it's not going to be across all 31.
Yes.
It's even going to be a miracle if it's across half of them. Because sometimes them are not businesses that you see on your day-to-day. So it take time to appreciate those kind of counters. And they do very well, some of them.
Yes.
The competing needs for the capital post-COVID. So when I say competing needs is that, maybe I need my capital to survive, to spend on things that I now need. Pension funds support their members more. Insurance funds probably are paying out less. Maybe people are calling on them because they have lost jobs, etc. The bonds, the government still shows up in this, unfortunately, because if you remember the infrastructure bond that was Simba, how much were they asking for? I think 75.
Yes.
Did people bid? People offered over 150 billion. So there is a whole 75 billion somewhere that people offered to the government that to come and deploy to the stock market. So it's those investors that are going to keep the government ended up taking 109. That's a whole other 34 billion that could have come to the stock market by the government too.
Yes.
So it's those competing interests post-COVID that are going to keep some stocks down. But obviously, as time goes by, people will identify their arbitrage, whereby this company is doing better than it was in 2019. The price is lower than it was in 2019. Recovery strategy that is really going to be left behind.
Yes. Fantastic. Rufus, that market concentration, you mentioned it, and we do know that our local booth has been suffering from that now, but you're quite optimistic that once we get into Q4 trading, that might likely change. But is it going to be a little bit too late for that entire correction to be realized on the bourse?
I'll say the high concentration tends to lead the market.
Yes.
Get the wrong idea that the stock market is doing well just because a couple of 7 highly concentrated companies are doing well. So it's better to look at the bigger picture and also look at the macroeconomic factors supporting this growth. So the challenge we are currently experiencing right now is the shipping costs. So for any of the companies trading in the Nairobi Stock Exchange, that really depends on shipping in and out of the country, then the shipping costs are currently very high and they are skyrocketing. This is affecting a lot of companies, not just in Kenya, but also in the rest of the world. So the other macroeconomic factor we are experiencing right now is the high price of oil.
Yes.
So currently, if you look at Brent oil, like right, is $7.4 per barrel. And this is a level that we last saw in 2018. So the prices of oil are going up, mainly based on the high global demand. And at the same time, we had a hurricane in the US, and this has really affected supply. And I'm expecting that this effect is going to also affect our country. We are currently experiencing a lot of challenge with high cost of energy, and these might affect a majority of companies in the Nairobi stage. However, when you look at some companies, they have an insane ability of making a profit despite all these challenges.
Yes.
An example is, as already mentioned, with the banking sector, which is currently investing in the government. We have seen Safaricom and how they have adapted to the times. We have seen the construction industry, the housing sector growing very well, which is creating products for Bamburi and their products. So in this case, I'll be expecting the top concentration companies to still perform well, but the rest of the market might still experience challenges as we complete the fourth quarter of 2021.
Pretty much. At this point, I'd like to say thank you very much to you, Gabriel Mwendwa and Rufus Kamau, for taking time this morning to speak to us here at Metropole Television. Always a pleasure having you gentlemen around.
Thank you, Simba.
Anytime, man.
Thank you, Rufus.
Thank you, Gabriel.
All right.
Good.
And that's exactly what we have for you this morning. Take them back to the time that they started speaking on the biggest economic headlines this morning at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. I'm Antiaga Simba. Good morning.